We are live action. We are live action. I want to make sure that we're actually going live right now. So if everybody can do me a favor and comment right now, let me know that you are seeing my face, full vision here. So that way, let me make sure we are live action. Hi guys, Dr. Pinesett here, the Premed project expert, and we are live talking Katt Williams. This is part 2. So if you guys are excited, if you guys didn't catch part 1, make sure after this you go catch part 1 because part 1 was fire. And now this is part 2. So here we are. Let me close this. Okay. This is the nerve-wracking thing about being live is you never know. And I'm rushing in the door from work. Okay, someone says, I see you. I appreciate that, y'all. The vision, y'all. All right, so like I said, I'm Dr. Pinesett. We are live action. I'm going to hit the intro. We're going to get right into it because we have a lot of stuff to get to. I have MCAT coaching with my students at 5. So we have 50 minutes exactly to get through as much as we can today. If you're excited to learn, comment in the box, like the video right now, and let's get going. Here's the intro. But stop making excuses. Stop whining. Stop, right? Get at it. No excuses. Just dominate. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Woo, it's frantic when you come from work and you're trying to bring a message to people. But we're here. Justice, hello, what is up? Imtiaz, it has been a minute. Came over here and asked a question about anesthesia residency. Yes, we can talk about that. But first, let's talk about Katt Williams. If you guys have questions, put in the box. Maybe we'll get to them today. If not, I do read the comments, and I can answer them in a future video. I'm going to be doing a lot more of answering questions this year. If you guys remember how we started, I don't know, 7 years ago. It was actually 8 years ago we started because there was a previous app before YouTube that we started on. It was a lot of question and answer. I want to get back to that. I miss interacting with you guys, so we're going to do a lot more interactions this year. Today we're talking about Katt Williams and his interview with Shannon Sharp, and we're talking about lessons for you guys as students. So let's get right to it. The first one we have, and the first quote from Katt Williams, is that he was talking about how comedians, Shannon Sharp asked him, hey, have you ever been booed before? And Katt Williams said, yes. And he said, how'd you feel about that? And he said, hey, you know what, actually, comedians need to be booed more than they currently are. And when I heard that, I was like, yes, thank you for saying that. And it applies to you guys as pre-meds and as students because so often I go do events. And again, I met with one of my students who just got accepted to medical school, met with me on Friday. And in order to get that meeting, he sent me an email to say, hey, Dr. Pinesett, I got accepted to medical school. Oh my gosh, I want to meet up with you. And I said, okay, great. And in that same email, he said, here's the story. And he talked about how when he met me at a conference and I gave a talk, he hated me when he first met me. And the reason he hated me, he told everyone he knew, he was like, I'm done with Dr. Pinesett. I used to follow him, but I'm done because I saw him live and he said something that hurt my feelings. And what's so interesting is, and he brings this up, he's like, yeah, but that was actually what I needed to move forward. Getting booed, getting truth, getting real, getting someone holding you accountable. It's so important to have those people in your life who will be brutally honest with you, who will tell you you're not doing right. You gotta change. There's too many yes men out here, too many people looking for affirmations. It's the problem with the internet. The internet will give you, because that's how Google is, it will give you exactly what you want. It's tuned to do that. It doesn't give you what you need, it gives you what you want when you search social media and you Google and so forth. And so what you need in your life, guys, is to recognize sometimes we live in these echo chambers because the internet gives us what we want. We have to have real people in our lives who will tell us the real truth. And sometimes, guys, that's not going to feel good. It's going to feel like salt in a wound because you're already struggling. You know you're struggling. And then when I point out to you you're struggling, and then I tell you on top of that that it's your fault and that you have to fix it, you've been causing it, you fixed it, it hurts so bad to hear. But that is the truth, and that is the reality that you need to move. And so what's funny, when I was meeting with Isaiah on Friday, he was asking me, he's like, yeah, so it's like, when you, like, were you intending to offend people when you're at that talk? Were you intending to hurt people's feelings? And I said, absolutely. My intention wasn't necessarily to hurt people's feelings, but it was my intention to get people in touch with reality. And oftentimes that reality can be painful. That's why we love the social media. We love to drift off in this, oh, I'm in the metaverse. Why these goggles, right? They got these new goggles coming out. You can live in the VR world. People love that stuff because the real world is harsh. The real world is difficult. The real world is not perfection. And so for you guys, you need that. And as part of that, what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to trigger, and what people in your lives should be trying to trigger is accountability. Because you are responsible for whatever situation you're in. Yes, there are other factors that contribute, but only you can free yourself from circumstance. As much as I want it for my students, all the time, I say, hey, listen, you're signing up for coaching with me, you're signing up for the course with me. In the intro, I always said, listen, I am an expert. I am bringing you advice you cannot find elsewhere. I'm giving you foolproof, proven things. If you do this, you will succeed. But as much as I want you to succeed, as much as I'm investing in your success, if you don't want it and if you aren't willing to make the changes, to make the tweaks, to implement and be successful, I can't do it for you. Hold on one second, guys. This is the other beauty of being live. Are you guys still with me? My son comes in here. He's working on his homework in the room next door. And so he's been waiting to ask me this question all day. And so he came in right now to ask me his question for his homework. Beautiful timing. We're talking about accountability and getting it done right there, right? My son is accountable, doing his homework, needs some help. But so anyway, the point is sometimes the truth hurts, but we have to be real with ourselves before we can adjust and go. A lot of us like to live in delusion that we're doing what's supposed to be done, and then we act shocked. Oh, how could I not have passed that class? Oh, how could I not? You know what's up. You know you were confused in class. You know you should have been going to discussion. You know you skipped too many classes. You knew when you messed up the midterm you weren't on track to pass. So why do we keep lying to ourselves? We need people to hold our feet to the fire and say, no, you're in a bad way, fix it. And the second part of that, I'm talking about this booing, is that Katt Williams talked about bringing young comedians up, right? And it's like you get booed, you get whatever, and you work your craft and you work your material and you work your jokes. So many of us, as part of that, not willing to hear negativity, not willing to hear, right, people being honest with us, aren't willing to put the work in to evolve and to change, recognizing it takes time. And Katt Williams talking about how he'll work sometimes on a joke for like 3 years, and he'll talk to different comedians about it, and all these input sources to make it right. And so if you guys are serious about being successful, it takes a long time to grow into that success. All right, I'm sorry. You guys see that, right? My kid threw me all off track. I had an amazing point to make. We lost it. Oh. All right, reset the video. Guys, Dr. Pinesett here, the Premed Productivity Expert. We're talking Katt Williams and key takeaways from his interview with Shannon Sharp and how you guys can benefit as students and as premeds. If you were enjoying this, if you want more of this, like this video, comment, let me know. Say, Dr. P, I'm with you despite the interruption. All right, next up, guys. It was probably, you know what, I'm going to save that because it's probably my favorite from the whole thing, so I'll save that. He said, the facts are the facts. And I love this, guys. I love this. I love this. I love this. A lot of times, people act hurt when you present them with unfavorable data. So when we talk about med school admissions and we talk about the low percentage chance of them getting into medical school, hey, listen, if your GPA is this low, that's not a great score, you're not that competitive, it's going to be hard for you to get in. People like to say that that the facts aren't the facts, and they want to go off feelings. Well, just because the stats show that, I think I can do this. And it's so important, guys, that we focus on facts and we focus on reality. Because, again, like I keep getting back to this same argument, the same point, but it's like the facts are the facts. And if your numbers aren't, right, if the math isn't mathing when you apply to medical schools are not going to accept you. You are not some fancy exception that one person you heard about on the cesspool that is studentdoctor.net or Reddit. You aren't that one person that said, oh, you know what, I had a 2.0 GPA and I got into Harvard. I doubt they're telling the truth, but even if they are, you're not going to be that exception, so don't count on that. Count on the facts and you becoming competitive with those facts. As an extension of that, when you go to make your school list for medical school, right? So a lot of students, hey, Dr. Pinesett, how do I make my school list when applying to medical school? They want some complicated formula for figuring out, and all this stuff. They act like it's so difficult. It's simple. You guys ready? This is literally, I'm going to answer a million questions in 1 second. Are you ready? What school should I apply to? Okay, wait, here it is. Ready? You should apply to a handful a handful, we'll call it 7 to 15, a little bit more, two handfuls, 7 to 15 schools that you feel like your stats are low for. So these are the reach schools. You want to apply to more reach schools, 7 to 15. The next category is your schools that you're in line with. So reach schools are ones that where the facts don't line up. Your GPA, your MCAT are not in that level, 7 to 15 of those. Then you want to go to that second tier. And in that second tier, this is where you feel very competitive. You want to apply to 10 to 15 or 10 to 20 of these schools. Okay? Then you say, okay, wait, where are my stats above the numbers, above the average? Those schools you want to apply to, again, same number, 10 to 15. And so if you see this here, the smallest number is the reach schools. Then for the schools that we're competitive with and the schools that are quote unquote safety schools, it's about the same. And where that math ends up is you apply anywhere to 25 to 50 schools. As I say that, some of you guys are, oh my gosh, 50 schools, that's so many. Oh my gosh, I can't apply all those schools. How do I do all those secondaries? And the answer is you don't necessarily have to do all the secondaries. You don't necessarily have to go to all the interviews for the schools. But think about medical school application as first round, right, primary, second round, secondary, third round, interview, right, and so forth. You want to give yourself options. So you apply to a bunch of schools at the beginning of the cycle. Then as secondaries roll in or as interviews roll in, you start to make decisions about how you prioritize. So if I apply to 40 schools in primaries and then I get secondaries back from all 40 schools, I don't submit all 40 of those secondaries right away. I rank all of those schools that I apply to and I say, okay, these are my top 10, these are my second 10, my third 10, my bottom 10. You do them in order of their rank of importance and significance and desire for you. So the first 10, those get done as soon as they come in, you get those secondaries done, you flip them back. The second 10, you do those after you've done the ones that have already come in from that first set of schools and so forth. And if you never ever get to the third and fourth tiers, that's fine. Because then at least you have a big enough selection to where you opted into that. You give yourself options. Then for secondaries, let's say you fill out 20 secondaries or 25 secondaries. Oh my gosh, there's so many. You may only get interviews to, let's call it 10 of those schools. Do you have to go to every interview? No. As soon as you get your first acceptance or as soon as you have more than 5 interviews, start being selective, start picking, listen, I'm going to go to this interview, not that interview. I'm going to see if I can stack it with this other interview. If I can't, then I'm not doing it and so forth. But by giving yourself that many options, you open up the world. One of the other objections people make about having that many schools on your school list is the price of it, is the cost of it. And this is something we'll talk about in another stream. I actually just did a video I was filming about financial literacy, because I think financial literacy is important. And on this channel, we cover a diverse array, right? A whole bunch of topics that are useful for students and for pre-meds. And financial savvy, guys, if you're not financially savvy, even in a rudimentary way, it's going to be problematic because you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt if it's medical school. You're dealing with, right, trying to finance an education if you're low income and so forth. And so I have a great video we're going to do coming up on a live stream where I'm going to talk about financial literacy and some key strategies as students, as pre-meds, to manage your finances and plan it out for your pre-med journey and your medical journey in general. But in this sense, what we're talking about here is that when you talk about medical school applications being expensive, applying the difference in expense between applying to 25 schools and 40 schools is just a couple $100. It's less than $1,000. And my argument to you would be, if over the course of your lifetime, you're going to spend, best case scenario, you're going to pay, I'm not saying it's loans, whatever, but you're going to pay 6 figures, over $100,000 in tuition between undergrad and medical school. Like, what is $1,000 in the scope of $100,000? What is $1,000 in the scope of $250,000, which is roughly where the average med school debt is? It's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. So my advice to you is to pay that extra $1,000 to open up your chances of getting into medical school. The other way to phrase that is if I told you right now, hey, give me $1,000 and I'll guarantee you get into medical school. Would you trade $1,000 for a medical school acceptance? Of course you would. So why not do that in your application cycle to boost your chances of getting in? Do we get it, guys? So the cost of that relatively is nothing. The last point I'll add about this is a lot of people say, no. A better strategy is to apply to a small number of schools up front and then add schools as you don't get secondaries or as you get rejected from schools. That's a bad strategy because as soon as you add those extra schools, that's the first time they're considering your application. So it's like you never applied up front. You're applying what? Late in the cycle. And applying early in the cycle is one of the biggest factors in increasing your odds of success and maximizing the chances that your application gets viewed, considered seriously, and your candidacy is considered. If you don't apply early, you make it hard on yourself. So adding schools later doesn't do a whole lot. I see people all the time like, oh, I applied to 10 schools and now it's November and I've been rejected from most of them, so I think I'm going to add some more schools to my list. What? How's that going to help you? Do we get it, guys? Does that make sense to everybody? If that makes sense, comment right now. Julian says, good point. Esmal says, makes sense. Okay, perfect. Exactly. Apply to all schools as early as possible, guys. Cast your net wide, right? If you're fishing, this is a perfect example. When we talk about adding schools to your school list. If I'm watching Survivor right now with my wife. If you guys, some of you guys are too young to remember like old school Survivor. We're watching season 1 of Survivor that was like a million years ago. I remember as a kid watching with my family, and we're just watching it for the spectacle of it. But it's so funny. It reminds me of surviving, right? They'll give them a tool like here's a fishing line and a hook, and they can't catch no fish. And they give them a net or a bucket, and they're catching lots of fish. And that's kind of like applying to medical school. The more schools you apply to, up to a point, allows you to cast a wide net, metaphorically, figuratively, and realistically. You're casting a wide net, so it's increasing your chances of catching that juicy med school admission fish. So that's what we're trying to do, okay? If you have just like one little spot you might miss, like Battleship, missing the ship. So we want to apply broadly. All right. I love this. Next one. All right, are you guys still with me? Okay. We're talking Katt Williams, Shannon Sharp interview, and lessons for pre-meds and students. We are live action. I'm Dr. Pinesett, the pre-med project expert. The next thing we're going to talk about, guys, is the importance of perspective and paying dues. And Katt Williams was asked by Shannon Sharp, hey, you were in Friday After Next, which is a Friday movie, which is like spearheaded by Ice Cube, right? He wrote Friday, put that on, and has been pushing these. And so they were like, hey, we've heard from a lot of people who were in these movies that they got paid chump change, nickels, $5,000, $10,000, or even nothing for their roles in these movies. How did you get paid and how do you feel about that? And his answer was, in summation, I didn't get paid hardly nothing for Friday After Next. But anybody who says something bad about those movies and being in them and not getting paid is basically an idiot. And he says this because he's like, you got to keep things in perspective. Many of the people who are in these movies are first-time actors. Many of these people are unknown actors, aren't commercially popular. These movies were big breaks for a lot of people. Terry Crews, you look at Katt Williams, Mike Epps, you look at Chris Tucker. These were big breakout roles for people, right? Additionally, you have to look at early on these Friday movies, they're being put together by Ice Cube with duct tape, low budget, right? Not trying to give a black rapper money to do his movie, but you're still trying to succeed anyway. And so what he was essentially in a nutshell putting out, and what I hope you guys are picking up is that we sometimes have to understand it's not about the immediate gratification of an experience. It's not about the immediate pay of an experience. It is about the opportunity that experience creates for future opportunities and growth. It's about building yourself. For me, right, in my Dominate Premed course, I talk about a Dominate Premed pyramid. And I talk about building your pyramid with a strong base and foundation and building yourself up to the pinnacle of getting into medical school. And so we build on those layers, right? And it's a nice little framework for understanding how we go about pre-med and building ourselves into this amazing candidate. And this is what we have to see ourselves in life in general, but also as a pre-med. Experiences may not fruit right away. But as long as they're planting a seed, there's opportunity for growth of some sort, personally or career-wise, whatever, right? Like intrapersonally inside yourself with your skills or in your career, that makes those opportunities worthwhile. And so we have to change our perspective. I see a lot of students who are like, oh, you know what? I'm not doing this opportunity because it's not paid. Or I'm not doing this opportunity because they're not giving me units. Or I'm not doing this opportunity because they're not giving me my own project. It's like, guys, it's doing research, especially as a pre-med, is not about having your own project. It's not about being some prolific publisher. What it is about getting experience. It's about being around scholarly people so you can understand what that life is like. So you get a letter of recommendation from these people. And so you can grow and say, okay, is this something I'm interested in? That's what it's about. For me, I was talking about this on a previous live stream. One of my favorite research experiences, I didn't do no real research. I'll be totally honest with you guys. Totally honest. I was in this engineering lab with no engineering experience, and I wasn't ready for it, obviously. And I knew this going in, so there was no pressure. And I told the PI this up front. I was like, listen, I don't know nothing about no engineering, but what you guys are doing and with outer space satellites, with lasers, all this kind of stuff, it looks so cool. I just want to be a part of your lab. Can I be a part of the lab? I got in the lab. He gave me units every quarter. And all I did was show up to lab meetings. And then I went to lab and I would help around. Hey, do you need help with this? Can I clean this up? Blah, blah. And that's all I did for 3 semesters or 3 quarters. And it was the best research experience because every single week, I got to hear about fascinating things happening in aerospace engineering. I got to learn things about physics and the chemical nature and all these things. I was hearing about these things that you hear about in your chemistry class, or physics class. I was seeing real life applications for these very obscure things, right? Like it was awesome experience. Even though I didn't publish, even though it wasn't an immediate payoff, ultimately I got a stellar letter of recommendation. Ultimately, that same PI put me on as a director of a program for minorities because he saw that I was intelligent, that I was passionate about helping minority students. I was passionate about teaching, right? And so he put me on as this director of this program. I got to direct the whole program, and it paid me a lot of money to direct it. And also it was a great notch on my belt for going to medical school. And it was a fun experience for me. And that grew out of something seemingly unrelated. Additionally, that same person, right, was so passionate about their field and was so entrenched in constantly in constant and continuous lifelong learning that it opened up a perspective for me of what it truly means to be that lifelong learner, what it truly means to love what you do. And so it made me constantly look for increasing opportunities in my life to create opportunities to do things I'm passionate about, to continue to grow every single day and make myself smarter and sharper and better and stronger than the day I was before. And that's something I've carried on for forever. You guys see the life I live now, right? I do anesthesia, but I don't do anesthesia in some big department. I actually started my own anesthesia company. Why? Because then I can be in charge of my schedule. I can do the cases I want to do that are interesting to me. I can be in charge of my own schedule so I can free myself up to get here for you guys to do a live stream, to teach you guys about being successful and getting into medical school. So I've created a life where my passion is there and where I'm in control of things. Does that make sense to everybody? So you may not see the opportunity right away. You may not get paid from it. Maybe it's $5,000 for Friday. But if you could take $5,000 from Friday as playing the part of Smokey by Chris Tucker and turn that into 3 Rush Hour movies where they're paying you $20+ million a movie, I say that's a good return on investment. Would you not? Right? Of course you would. And that's what we're talking about. Okay? Let me take a second to breathe. I'm sipping my coffee right here. Are we all learning? Are we having fun? Who liked the Katt Williams interview? I really liked it. Obviously, I liked it. I'm obsessed with it. Okay. We moved from one envelope. We're now into the 3x5 card. All right. The next thing that was said. In life, guys, it's so important to have some nuance and some savvy to your mindset. I work with so many students, so many organizations, so many administrators, and they have a fixed impression of how things are supposed to be and what things are and how we perceive things from a distance. And we don't take the time enough to really investigate and to get to know someone's character and really get to look behind the shade. We're too quick to judge a book by its cover. And in this case, Katt Williams said a line where he said, "I'm pro-black, non-racist." And when he said that, I don't know if you guys heard that, when he said that, I gosh darn loved it when he said that. How do we answer this conversation in a way that people aren't going to be immediately like, oh, shock and awe, right? Shock and awe campaign. Racism is real and racism is forever. We will never get rid of racism. What we can do is disempower. We can weaken racism. Racism historically has been a very strong force in our society. racism, sexism, culturalism, whatever you want to name it, right? What we have the opportunity to do, we're never going to get rid of all of it, but what we can do is take away its power. And the way we take away its power is that we talk race, we educate, we build awareness. And for so many people, that's like a taboo thing to say. A lot of people want to run from racism. And a practical example of this is, I remember there was a story not too long ago where there was a student, a teacher, who was using the word niggardly in her classes. I said that, niggardly, in her classes. And when she used that word, several of the black students in the class were offended and stopped attending class. They then got an F in the class, and then after the fact, tried to say it's because she used this word, we want to take it off her transcript and we want the teacher fired. And when I read this story, I saw all people in comments like, oh my gosh, this teacher needs to be fired, these students are heroes, blah, 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 blah. And I actually have a different take on it. And I'm going to use this as a larger discussion to discuss race in higher education, if you guys will give me a second, and give me a second to get at this. I think the teacher was wrong, but I think the students were just as wrong. Why? Because they quit. They walked away from the course instead of doing what, guys? Raising awareness, using the moment to educate the teacher. Because after the fact, the teacher claimed, hey, I didn't know it was offensive to people. It's just a word in the dictionary, niggardly. The students argued that the teacher should have known. But my statement would be, hey, students, if you hear a word that offends you, how about you raise your hand and say, hey, listen, teacher, that word to me sounds way too close to the N word. And I don't know which way you mean to use it, but it's offensive to me. Can you please not use that word? Then the teacher has an opportunity to become aware of how her words are affecting people. The teacher has an opportunity to say, wait a minute, I didn't mean it like that. Or she has the opportunity to say, yes, I meant it like that, and I'm going to say it anyway. And then we can have a discussion. You have the opportunity to persuade her of why it's not wise to do and why it alienates people of color. But if we aren't willing, when we see racism, to have nuanced, high-level discussions and confront it, it's a problem. It's a problem. We have to be able to do that. And I love this term, pro-black, non-racist, because this is how people need to understand what's happening. There is historical racism from non-minorities to minorities. Blacks being the principal recipient of a lot of racism in this here America by white people. As black people started to push back against this racism and prejudice they were experiencing, some term came out that likes to be thrown around now. And it's reverse racism. Have you guys heard this term? Reverse racism. And I hate that word. And anytime I hear someone use that word, I get pissed off. And I have a deep, long conversation with them about how wrong they are. Reverse racism that's not a real thing. If you are racist to me and I voice my concern and say, that is not right, that is not me being reverse racist. That's me being pro-black and standing up for the fact that I don't want your racism to exist. Does that make sense to everybody? This is so important. Someone can say that they're here to help students of color or here for black people, right? So for me, right, I have premedproductivity.com. My number one mission, right? My number one mission is in general to help students and help premeds reach their goals, to show students, no matter what you face, what you're going through, whatever, there's potential within you and you can unlock it. But my secondary goal within that is that I especially want to help disadvantaged students, because I'm from that group, and students of color because I'm from that group. And I understand that those two groups face hardship, adversity, and issues that other groups don't face, that are unique and problematic and sometimes overwhelming. Just because I say I am pro disadvantaged students and pro students of color, particularly black students, doesn't mean I'm racist or reverse racist, or doesn't mean I discriminate. What it means is I identify a particular group that I want to help and serve. And the practical example of this, where I had to stand up and applaud, where it works in the opposite direction, is that, I don't know if you guys saw this, it was the president or the CEO of Lululemon came out this week. And it was an interview where he was getting, and essentially they asked him about like, hey, Lululemon is is exclusionary, and you guys, all your models look the same, blah, 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 blah. And the CEO or the president, his response was, yes, we are not for everyone. We are not all inclusive. We are exclusive. We have a target audience, and we want to serve them best, and everybody else has other brands they can wear. And I immediately was like, yes, 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 exactly. Not everything has to be for everyone. That's the truth. That's the reality. Like, yeah, I get it. We want to be inclusive, but not everything has to be for everyone. Just because Lululemon says, hey, we're not for you, we don't make, right? Lululemon, I went in Lululemon because it's like, Lululemon says they make men's stuff. And I watch the men coming out of Lululemon, they don't look like me. I look at the stuff in the rack, I ain't fitting in that. I'm a broad-shouldered, big booty. I'm a large individual. Lululemon don't make no pants for me. I got too much junk in the trunk. Lululemon can't contain this junk, right? I'll smooth bust out some Lululemon stretch pants, right? I'll put it to the limit. It's okay that they don't make stuff for me and my body type. I'm okay with that. I'm good. My life will go on. We have to stop acting like everything is for everyone. And when I get on here and I talk to you guys, sometimes I have a message for students. Sometimes I have a message for premeds. Sometimes I have a message for medical students. Sometimes I have a message for my disadvantaged students. Sometimes my students of color. Sometimes it's a message for privileged students. I have videos on privileged students. But the point is not every message is intended for you or needs to be intended for you. That doesn't make me discriminatory. At the same time, as students of color, as people of color, it's so important to recognize that it's okay to be pro-Black or pro-Latinx or pro-whatever. It's okay to say we are minorities and we are here and I represent my people first and foremost, without feeling like and being treated like you're racist. Additionally, if you experience racism, it's okay to stand up in a polite and professional manner and say, whoa, that doesn't make me feel good. That doesn't make me feel right. And a practical example of this, you guys are like, oh, I can't do this and the dynamics, and I'll give you a perfect practical example right now. When I was an intern, so here I am, I'm a physician, MD. I'm an intern, and I'm interning with a radiologist. And this radiologist is having a good time, talking to me, it's real casual, whatever. And he starts to get in this conversation about blacks and whites. And as he's having this conversation, he does that thing, that qualifier that some people do. As he says something that could potentially offend someone who's black and says, but I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about real black people. Now, in that moment, this person's an attending. I'm an intern. This is my medical career. I'm trying to advance, finish training, become an independent doctor. So for some of you guys, when you see a situation, what would you do in that situation? What would you use? Oh yeah, we'll talk about woke in a second. Right? Because this is perfect. We'll bring it right in here with Julian for woke. There are essentially three options. The common response from you young people, you millennials, whatever your little group is called, is one of two things. One, it's just let it go, don't cause a stir, continue to go on, and like that's like the passivity of this young group, right? That's what we want to do. The second option of this young group is the wokeness, where we go from We hear it and we go level 10. What? And it becomes a whole thing. Or we're sending emails off here. We're trying to get people fired. We're doing all this kind of thing. And what I would argue, the third one right in the middle, is to just confront the person professionally. And that's actually what I chose to do in the situation, and actually had a really good outcome. I said this to Tanny. I said, wait, what do you mean I'm not a real black person? I said, totally call me this. I said, oh, wait a minute. What do you mean I'm not a real black person? And they were like, well, you know what I mean. I said, no. I don't know what you mean. So if you could articulate what a real black person is, because you define what that is, and then explain to me how I'm not a real black person, I'd love to hear it. And so, oh, come on. I mean, we were just talking, we get that whole thing. And I'm like, no, I really need you to explain to me what a real black person is, because I feel like standing right here in front of you right now, that I'm a real black person. And so if there's some disconnect between what you think a real black person is and this real black person here, I'd love to hear it so we can get it corrected. Oh, well, you mean you're a doctor. Da, da, da. Just because I'm a doctor doesn't make me a fake black person. My education, the way I speak, my professionalism, how I come in here well-dressed as a physician represents my aspirations, represents my environment. It doesn't represent my blackness. And I said, it's really important. I said, that is very offensive what you said. And for me, I'm fine. Like, we're good. We can move on from it. But I think it's very important that you understand that's offensive and that you don't talk like that anymore. Because just because you perceive a real black person as being uneducated, speaking poorly, ebonics, whatever you want to call it, right? As not being physician-like, that's a bad take. That's a bad perspective. And it's important you understand that black people, we're all over the map. And so to say something like that is very derogatory. And he was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize. I'm sorry. Apologize profusely. We never spoke about it. I continued on rotation the rest of the 2 weeks, and it's fine. And I don't know if that changed his outcome on things, but he told me it changed his outcome on things, and he saw things differently. I don't know if he did or did not. But it was an opportunity to educate and to make awareness and to stand up for myself and be pro-black, non-racist, non-woke character. It was an opportunity for me to explain, educate, and illuminate the situation to this guy. Does that make sense to everybody? Here's someone who has power over me. They're an attending, and I'm an intern. But I can change the power dynamic. I can go through that in a calm way and create education and awareness. And if it didn't go that way and it didn't go my way, what will be the next thing? Well, then I would escalate it beyond him to his boss or someone else in, again, a professional manner. But we can have nuanced conversations about racism, and it's important because if we're going to change infrastructure, we have to understand, right, there's not a lot of black leaders out here that are in charge of a lot of these health institutions. So if you're going through medicine, you're going to encounter a lot of racist behavior, discriminatory behavior. And you have to be comfortable standing in your blackness and saying this is inappropriate and doing so in an appropriate manner. Are we good? Yeah, I like, again, yeah, Say Rain says it. Rephrasing their point in self-reflective language is a good tactic, such as how you're describing now, right? That's what we're trying to do. And it's not risky because what did I say inappropriately, D. Homer, who says it was risky that I said that? How is it risky to say, hey, listen, what did you mean? And ask for clarification. Because immediately he knew what he said was wrong. And that's why, you know what I mean. So how am I in risk of being in trouble? I talked in a calm, professional manner. I articulated myself. We don't have to be in danger to have a discussion. There's no danger in discussion. Where there's danger is in anger, is in cancel culture, is in wokeness. There's no danger in discussion. And that's the nuance we need to have. Pro-black, non-racist. Okay. Y'all still with me? We're at 40 minutes. Should we end right now? I mean, I have the rest of this flashcard side, another flashcard side, and a couple pages I wrote up. But should we end there or should we keep going? Let's talk about this. The next one is, Katt Williams said, I'm blessed. I'm one of the richest people in the world because when I wake up, I don't need nothing. Whatever I need is right around me. And when he said that, can I read it again to you guys? I'm blessed. I'm one of the richest people in the world because when I wake up, I don't need nothing. Whatever I need is right around me. And I love this so much, guys, because when we talk about not going into medicine for the money, I think that's a very valid thing to say. But I will say that wanting to have money is a valid reason to go into medicine. I myself, one of, not all the reasons, one of the reasons I want to go into medicine was because I wanted a career that would pay me a reasonable wage. Not even a reasonable wage, a lot of money. Why? Because I grew up in a house where money was not abundant. And so I understood the stress that comes from being from a low-income home and being a disadvantaged student. Not having enough money brings a lot of stress into your life. Having money creates, right? It eliminates some of that stress and creates opportunity to create happiness. But what I love about this quote, right? Because that's the first place to go is money. So I want to let you guys know, wanting to have enough money is fine. But what I loved about this quote was, I'm blessed. I'm one of the richest people in the world because when I wake up, I don't need nothing. Whatever I need is right around me. And I love that because it has nothing to do with money. And so for me, I feel when he said that, I'm like, Katt, I'm right there with you. I am one of the wealthiest people in the world. Jeff Bezos ain't got nothing on me. I'm right there in wealth. Why? Because to me, my measure of wealth is having the things I need around me. Having wonderful friendships, having wonderful family. I got a great spouse. You guys have seen Shannon. She comes on sometimes, right? I love my wife. I have amazing kids. My kids are the bomb. Everything I need in my life, I have right around me. I have a wonderful, safe place to live, right? I have food on my table. That's my definition of wealth. That's what I need to feel good about myself. And it's all a matter of perspective. And Shannon and I, my wife, we always often reflect. We're very happy now, right? We've got a house. Like, I'm a physician. I make good money, right? We're doing all this kind of stuff. We get to travel and whatever, right? But when we look back, we were almost just as happy when we had nothing. We used to, you guys, some of you guys are kind of young, but I don't know if you guys remember like Groupon, right? But Shannon and I must have been Groupon's #1 fan because we would look for stuff on Groupon where it was like pay $5, get $100 or something or whatever. We would be scrounging for nickels and we would have dates just like go to the park and exist for free, go to the boardwalk. Like we do all these free things and we had all the same, like we had so much fun being broke. Why? Because what do we need? We just need each other. We just needed that, like, right? We didn't need a whole lot of lavish things. Now we do the same things we used to do, just in more lavish settings, right? We used to have a TV that was a tube TV. It wasn't flat screen. It was tube TV. Even in medical school, I had a tube TV because I couldn't afford the flat screen. Now I have a flat screen and it's big. But we do the same things. We hang out, watch TV, talk about our watching Survivor. If you have to be, the point I want to make from this, in this life, guys, what you define as success, as rich, as wealth, as your standard of life is what determines your happiness. And for so many students, for so many doctors, why are doctors miserable? They aren't in alignment. They don't have a good bar to mark what makes them happy. Their goal is not a good goal. Many physicians got into healthcare thinking, I'm going to make millions. That's a recipe for disaster. You're not going to make millions as a doctor. But if you get into healthcare saying, I want a high-paying career where I can make an impact, you'll be perfectly happy as a doctor. I love anesthesia, right? I sacrifice money from anesthesia all the time, right? I want to get off early. I don't need more money because what I value is getting home and seeing my kids. What I value is getting off in time to coach you guys, right? Today I canceled the case, gave up a case, gave it to somebody else. So that way you guys can have me here. A little bit late, but here still. You have to choose what makes you happy. And even as you go through your student journey, one of the sabotages that we do to ourselves is we set our happiness on some future date. I want you guys to redefine that. Don't say, I'll be happy when I get into medical school. I'll be happy when I'm a doctor. I'll be happy, blah, 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 blah. Change it and ask yourself, what would make me happy right now? And so when I was a student, I told you guys, I used to study, right? Every single day I'm getting my study in no matter what. And I worked really, really hard for a while. And even medical school, right? When you work even harder, you're doing all this stuff all the time. It's very busy. I had so much joy and fun in that journey because for me, my bar of happiness was 3 things. Who knows these 3 things? What are my measures of what makes it a good day? What makes me happy? It's very, very simple, very, very straightforward. One, Does anybody know? Well, wait, we'll see. How many of you guys been paying attention to my channel? We're going to have to do a Katt Williams part 3 because I still have pages and pages to go through. But what are my 3 things that I set my goal, my marks at every day? Okay, people don't remember. It's all right. It's okay. First goal is I want to learn something new. So every single day, I set out to learn something new. And if I learn something new, I won. The second thing is I want to get better. I want to improve myself in some way. And what's awesome about that is those first 2 intertwine. Yay! So if I learn something, I've gotten better, so I win. The third thing is I want to help someone else and make someone else's life better. 3 simple things to make every single day great. And that third one is real loose definition, right? Today, I've just helped my son with his homework. I started this live stream, right? So therefore, I've helped someone today. No, but truthfully, you guys get what I'm saying? Those 3 simple goals: learn something, be better, and help make someone else's life better. If I do that every single day, I'm a rich, rich man. And because that, I enjoyed every part of my student journey because every day I was learning. Every day I was bettering myself. And every day I tried to pay that forward and better someone else, whether it's through tutoring students, teaching students, mentoring students, and so forth. And so it was built in automatically every day for me to have success and to really be succeeding on my measurement of what success is. All right. D-Homer, I think it's just you. I'm not breaking up. Everybody still with me? We can all still hear me? Dr. Pinesett still live action? Can we do one more before we get out of here? Man, we're going to have to... How can we have 3 talks on Katt Williams? That's how good that interview was, guys. 3 talks on Katt Williams. All right. Can we end on this one? I'll end on this one. Now, this is a longer conversation. I only have 5 minutes. I get to. Okay, I'm looking at what topics I can get to quickly. Let's see. Okay, we'll do this one. I like this one. Okay. Oh, actually, this is a good one to end on. Are you guys also with me? All right. Katt Williams said, trampoline skin. As students and as premeds, if you want to be successful, you've got to have trampoline skin. For me, there's been something I've always said that I really loved and internalized, and it's the I'm rubber, you're glue, everything you say, bounce off me, sticks to you. But I think trampoline skin is another iteration of that. I've already said, life is hard, life is difficult. If you're in higher education, the pathway is not easy. It is rife with haters. It is rife with difficulty because we're growing and we're pushing ourselves. It's rife with being uncomfortable. And what is so important as students and as premeds is you recognize is if you want to make it through the journey, no one makes it through the journey unscathed. And so in order to make the journey, keep your mind on right, your head on right, and to stay focused on the journey, you have to develop trampoline skin. Whereas you can push aside what everyone says about you. If you guys don't know, right, I'm Dr. Pinesett. I'm the Premed productivity expert. If you Google me, you'll see that many of the top results you get are from Reddit and SDN. And it turns out I am to Reddit as Dave Chappelle is to trans people. And SDN, right? I am SDN as Dave Chappelle is to trans people. SDN hates my guts. If you go on there, there's a million threads about me. A million. This guy's not a real doctor. This guy's a sellout. This guy's a racist. This guy's a scam artist. This guy doesn't care about students. This guy, blah, blah, blah. You run the list. There's a million nasty things being said about me on the internet. When I go in and check my DMs, I get a million hate messages. You black effing this, you blah, 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 I wish you would die. Oh, you're an idiot. How could you say that? Da, da, da. All this criticism and negativity. Do you know how much sleep I lose over it? Zero. Zero. Throughout my journey, when people told me I couldn't do something and pushed me down or tried to put a limit on me, put a box on me, I have trampoline skin. I can't even hear it. Because I know, right? And you guys may know one of my favorite quotes, right? My personal mantra, I say to myself every single day, everything I am or ever will be is a direct result of me. My effort, my care, my focus, and my actions. Everything I am currently or everything I ever will be in the future is a direct result of me. My care, my focus, my attention, and my actions. I have trampoline skin because I know that no one's words can change my life. That I am too powerful to be brought down by words or by racism or by hatred or by any of that stuff. Because I choose to be great. And I choose to uplift students and help them be great. So how in the world could you say to me, and it hurt my feelings, you say, I'm not a real doctor. Oh, he said I'm not a real doctor. Oh, he said I never went to Stanford Med School. Oh, I'm so hurt. Oh. He didn't like what I said. Oh. You can't hurt me. Because I know that I make me. I make up my character. The only voice that matters is my gosh darn voice. And for many of you guys as students, I encourage you to develop trampoline skin and recognize no one can do the work but you. No one can get the result but you. And as a result of that, right, the other side of that is that then no one can keep you from doing the work. No one can keep you from getting that result. No one except you. And if you understand this, you'll take the accountability and you'll stop worrying about what everyone else will think about what you're doing. And instead, you'll just do it. You'll do what you want to do. You'll do what you need to do to get great. And one of the best examples I can give to you of this, guys, is in my career, right? I have not been perfect by any stretch of the means. I struggled mightily early in my career and was told I would never get into medical school. Was told at multiple points, like, what are you doing? That's ridiculous. And I kept doing what I knew I needed to do, and it turned into success. The perfect example of this is in medical school. I went to medical school in a time before COVID and before digital resources were really out there, where it was like a novel thing to have lecture recordings. And actually, they only had audio recordings for much of the time. And so everyone went to class. And I was one of the first people at Stanford to say, screw class from like day one. And I didn't go to no lectures except for what was mandatory of me. And other students would be like, when they would see me, like, oh my gosh, you're not going to class, you're going to fail, you're not going to be ready for step one. What do you mean you haven't looked at the lecture slides this whole term? How are you going to pass the test? How are you ready for step one? And blah, 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 blah. And then what was amazing was, despite everyone saying that, right, it wasn't going to hurt my feelings. It didn't hurt my feelings at all. I kept doing what I needed to do to be successful, focusing on me, getting my studying done, doing my system of studying. Every single term, I passed those tests. When we went to go to group-based learning and you have to teach about something, I was teaching about stuff that they hadn't covered yet in class because I was already so far ahead. When it came time to step one, I got one of the top scores of all my Stanford Med School students. When it came time to moving into the clinics, I was one of the top students honoring all my rotations because I was that clinically competent. And then at the end of medical school, after everyone was saying all this stuff, they asked me to be on a panel with the other top 5% of my Stanford Med School class, teaching the incoming medical students how to succeed on step one and beyond. And we're on this panel, right? There's only 80-something students at Stanford. So 5% is 4 of us. There's a small panel, it's 4 or 5 of us. And we're on this panel, and I'm on the end of the panel. And they're going on the panel, everybody's saying all their stuff. Oh, yeah, I second that, blah, blah, blah. And they're all saying the same stuff. I'm not saying nothing. They get to me, okay, Dr. or Andre, what did you do at that time? And I said, well, actually, you know what? My best advice to you would be not to go to class at all. And then the med school dean, who's running the talk, immediately bounced out from the table, like, no, stop. Andre didn't attend lecture. Andre was highly successful. However, Andre has a different study skill set. You shouldn't do that unless you have the skill set to do it. And I said, oh yes, that is a big caveat. You have to be an excellent independent studier if you're gonna do it that way. And we went on with the conversation. And it was so awesome, right? Because it shows you that what other people are uncomfortable with, other people tell you not to do, frequently it's because of their limitations. But you don't know your own limitations until you push them. And it turns out that any student, including this dumb guy, could become an independent student in college, could be independent in grad school, could be independent in medical school, and could be a hell of a clinician if he learned how to study and have the highest of level of study skills. If he had systems in place that allowed him to execute at a higher, more efficient, I'm humming at a different frequency than everyone else that they can't compete with. That's the opportunity in front of you guys, is to recognize you need to level up your skills. If you want to be Teflon skin, trampoline skin, rubber skin, you need to step up into your skills and work on yourself. Take accountability and then step up into your skills and recognize you can be incredible. And I have my course, the 5 Pillars to Less Getting Better Grades, that makes students bulletproof. That makes it so they can laugh at whatever else is going through. Right? Just today I got an email from my student who's a nurse, is a nursing school. And I was like, oh my gosh, Dr. Price, thank you so much for the 5 pillars. It's so amazing to feel so good and confident as I go through my journey, as other people are flailing around, all panicked. That's the opportunity when you put systems in place. So for me, I never panic because I know it's all on me, and me is highly skilled, is highly focused, and will get the job done. Are we good? 23 Knows All says, do a video on the shoe fits. Oh gosh, I had to send that to Shannon when I heard that shoe fits, because you know Drake is telling the truth on that song. We will do a live stream on the shoe fits because it's fire. Freaking fire. Oh, Alejandro, look at this. So it's so funny. Alejandro, I just shouted you out. So I was just talking about how my student had just sent me an email today, and Alejandro is actually on here. How do I make this? Let me make this bigger. Hold on, but I'm almost done.
Oh, I was asking you to finish my session.
Hold on, I'm almost done. Give me 1 second.
Can I watch TV?
Sure, you can watch TV for a minute. Or sit right here for a second. I'm almost done. 1 minute. Alejandra, so I was talking about earlier about my student who said they're doing so great in nursing school. And then she's actually on here. She said, thank you for that 5 pillars course. I love it, nursing school, right? Boom. Right in that moment. See how the universe just brings everything together? So what I say to you guys is you guys can all be incredible. Get educated, get expert, take accountability. You want to come say hi to everybody?
Sure.
All right, it's my son, guys. Come wave and say hey.
Hi.
Say what up, everybody?
What up?
Did you learn today, Dre?
Yes.
I learned as well. I hope you guys learned on this live stream and have had fun with me. I'm going to go hang out with my son for a second, and then I'm going to start MCAT coaching in exactly 2 minutes. So my MCAT students will be on MCAT coaching in 2 minutes. Everyone have a wonderful evening. We'll be back for a part 3. Say part 3.
Part 3.
Katt Williams later this week, since we can't get this done, and we need to get it done. Everybody have a wonderful evening. We'll hit the outro, and we'll get out of here, y'all. Later. That's it for another episode. Show your love by smashing the like button and commenting in the box below. Today is the day, guys. No more excuses, no more complaining. You're going to take your future into your own hands. You're going to dominate. You're going to be successful. I challenge you. What are you going to do today to make your life better? Get to my website, premedproductivity.com. Grab a free ebook. Sign up for a free webinar. And if you're really ready to transform, enroll in one of my life-changing courses or coaching programs. You have greatness inside you. Let me show you how to unlock it so you can dominate and make your dreams a reality. No excuses, just dominate.